talk about how to make your supplemental essays shine. And I may have to skip through some of these a little more quickly, but I'm a college admissions consultant. My name is Josephine Borman. I'm the founder of Strive to Learn. I'm really passionate about mentoring students. I also love adventure. I just did canyoneering for the first time. It was Halloween, so I'm wearing a onesie. I love backpacking, and sometimes I take my cat. And I also, of course, take my fiance as well as my dog. That's just a little bit about me, but let's jump into what supplemental essays are. So there are several common types of supplemental essays that I want to point out. There are more than just these specific ones, but these are the ones that you might encounter or that your senior might encounter on their college application. So if you are using the common application, oftentimes universities, in addition to the personal statement they all receive, will be reading supplemental essays that are written only for them. So maybe Boston University says, okay, that's great that you're applying. Now tell us, why are you interested in applying to Boston University specifically? So that's a supplemental essay type that's very common. I call that the Why Us essay. We might also have the extracurricular essay. So asking the student to elaborate on one of their extracurricular activities and why it's meaningful to them. And then we've seen a lot of essay prompts about community in one way, shape, form, or other. So how will you contribute to our community on campus might be one, or describe one of the communities you're a part of and the role you take in it could be another one. So those are just some examples. Now let's talk a little bit about why they exist, right? And why they matter. And I think this is really important. This is something that not everyone knows. So in the Common App, which over 900 universities use, so you're bound to have at least one common application school. You may have schools that take only your personal statement. Now, your personal statement is usually pretty polished because you know that it's going to be read by a lot of different universities. So you go through drafts and drafts, you have some people read over it, you're really happy with it. Then Boston University asks you, why do you want to apply here? And you're like, oh, wow, okay, I guess I'll just like jot down some thoughts. So that is a common mistake that students make. That's a really, really big pitfall. And that is to assume there's a box, so I'm not going to treat it like an essay. So you may, as a student, you may think, I'm just going to fill this out. I'm just going to jot down a little paragraph and not really think about it. But I really encourage students to think of the supplemental questions as essays, even if it's just 100 words or 250 words, which is like basically a fat paragraph. Treat it as an essay, write it in a Google Doc first, and make it as polished as your personal statement. Why is that? These are essays that only that university receives. So if the university has 3 supplemental essays and they get your personal statement, which is excellently polished and beautiful, and they're in love with you after that, and then they read your supplemental essays and they all sound kind of like an afterthought, then they might think you're not that interested in them as a university because they can see how much work you put into your personal statement versus how little work you put into their supplemental essays. So that's why I say these essays really can be quite powerful in helping elevate your profile in the admissions process to that specific university. Our first speaker tonight, Ed from Xavier University, he talked about demonstrated interest. He talked about wanting higher yield, wanting students to actually enroll once they've been offered admission, right? These essays, these supplemental ones, since they are school specific, allow the university to really assess those things. So they can tip the scales quite a bit. And I think it is a very big lost opportunity that a lot of students sacrifice by not knowing that they should value them. Okay, let's talk about what types of essays there are. I have a lot of examples in here. So let's take a look at a sample Why Us prompt. I put in here Chapman's Why Us prompt. It is only 200 words or fewer, so it's not super crazy. And it says, there are thousands of universities and colleges. Why are you interested in attending Chapman? And then on their website, Chapman has a little bit of a subtext. This is not on the Common App, but if you check out their website, they tell you this as well. We're looking for specifics. What separates Chapman from the other institutions you're considering? What special programs, activities, and aspects of campus are most attractive and compelling to you? We're well aware that our campus is in a fantastic location and is aesthetically pleasing. We hear about Disneyland and how beautiful our campus is frequently. Dig a little deeper to show us you know why Chapman could be a great fit for you. I want to point some things out here. This is subtext that not all universities give you. And like I said, it's kind of hidden on the Chapman University website. It's not actually, readily accessible necessarily. It's always about why is the university a good fit for you and why are you a good fit for the university? So I see this essay like a why are we made for each other? I see it as the school as a puzzle piece and then the student as the other puzzle piece. And for those of you who might listen to this as an audio recording later on, I'm holding up my two hands. I'm going to intertwine my fingers to show how really this essay should be about why are we made for each other. Here's something about the school that's interesting, and here's why it's interesting to me and why I would value that, etc. We're going to go even more in depth on the specifics of this, but really getting specific in this essay is so important. Don't just say, I like that you have small class sizes and that you have a commitment to global education and that your students can do a lot of internships. Instead, find a class you would like to take and tell me how that small class size would benefit you in that class. Find an actual study abroad program that you would be excited to participate in and talk about why that one is intriguing to you. So be specific, actually look stuff up. And that's why the research is really the most important part about these. So when you're thinking, how do I even get started on this YS essay so that I don't make the mistake of only talking about location and general things, I say, make a table. Make a table that has 2 columns, pretty simple, right? You can just write it down on a piece of paper. You can do it in a Google Doc, whatever works better for you. Title the left column as must-haves, and then title the right column as, in this case, Chapman University, right? Boston University, whichever one you're looking at. Then make a list of your must-have criteria and list them in the left column. In 2 of my previous presentations today, I talked about Coursava as a good tool to kind of get your criteria, your must-have criteria sorted. So I'm just going to pop that in the chat here, Grace, in case you haven't heard about this tool. It's a great tool for students to use if they're not quite sure yet about their college criteria. So if you know you want small class sizes, global learning, internship opportunities, and maybe psychology major. Now, those are 4 things that you want out of a university. You would write those in the left column. Now, once you have that left column, for each criterion, you want to go on the university website and look up very specifically something that would allow you to meet that criteria. So, look up their psychology major. Do they have any specific emphases, or do they have a general psychology major? Is there a professor who's doing really interesting research that you would hopefully be able to assist? At Chapman, for example, they offer 2 options for the senior thesis. You can do a half-year option, 1 semester, or you can do a 2-semester option that truly prepares you for graduate school. So you could say, that's why your psychology program stands out to me. I would like to apply for, a master's or a PhD someday, potentially in psychology. Not sure yet what, but I would like that option to be open. So I love that you offer a 1-year senior thesis to prepare me for that. That is a specific thing that not all students know that you would find out if you dug a little bit deeper that could make your Why Us essay really stand out. I am going to send these slides out. When you click on this link, you will see an example. But I'm not going to get through everything if we don't keep going right now. So I'd rather show you guys an example essay. So I'm going to show you a first draft versus a final draft. And I'm going to use the same prompt. And this is a true essay that one of my students wrote about 4 years, a little over 4 years ago, because she graduated half a year ago from Chapman. So she did attend Chapman. So I will read it out loud so that we can all follow along. There are thousands of universities and colleges. Please share with us why you are choosing to apply to Chapman. Again, this is her first draft. Chapman is the epitome of the perfect college for me. One may ask why. My answer to that is that Chapman fulfills every need of mine. Its small class size is a necessity to me, for I am a student who enjoys having more one-on-one time, allowing me to understand the subject to the best of my ability. It is located in the perfect area, and that being my hometown, along with my parents' and grandparents' hometown as well. It has one of the best facilities for the biology students to allow for a better opportunity to learn and a more hands-on experience, and that is just what I'm looking for. I cherish the traditional college values that Chapman has to offer. Chapman has been my top school since I knew what college was, and I would love to become a Panther. Okay, Grace, Didi, I'd love to see in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, whichever you prefer. What are some things that you think were really helpful? And what are some areas of improvement where the student could improve a little bit? Let's see if you guys can come up with something. Putting you to the test. Your kids have to go through this right now. So I want to see what you guys come up with. Where do we have some good stuff? Where do we have some stuff that needs some improvement? Any ideas? And I did get the students' permission to show this. I did ask her. Okay, crickets. I will jump into it then. Basically, she had a lot of great criteria. We learned a lot, but she does talk a bit much about the location, which I don't know if that's that important. I could, she could also apply to LMU, USD, UCI with that same reason. So that's not really a reason for Chapman. That's just a reason why she wants to stay here. We do have a comment by Didi. This is great. I think she conveys a true and genuine enthusiasm for Chapman. Yeah, I agree, Didi. However, she's very vague and lists things that are not specific to Chapman only. I love how you said that. Not specific to Chapman only. That's exactly right. So you would ask her to add specific things like a special concept about biology and specific things about the values she's talking about. I love that. I should just give you my job. So exactly. This sounds like she's applying to any Southern California school that has small class sizes and offers biology, right? And there are a handful of schools that would fit this criteria, but that doesn't mean we know why Chapman, of all of those schools, would be the best one, right? Let's read her final draft and see how she was able to make this essay more specific. Here we go. I think there's one more. Yes, okay. Chapman fulfills every wish of mine. I hope to develop personal relationships with professors through Chapman's small class sizes and hands-on labs. I am intrigued by the growing biology department with emphasis on research, and I identify with Chapman's deeply ingrained social responsibility of promoting equity and inclusion. When I visited Chapman, I learned about the diverse biology department, from loons to Galapagos turtles to wetlands to cancer. Chapman offers a variety of research opportunities. The latter especially intrigues me, and I hope to be able to assist Dr. R.G. Rowland Goldsmith in investigating how pomegranate juice extract suppresses metastasis of pancreatic cancer. The professors at Chapman create a personal learning environment and truly advocate for their students. I can't wait to immerse myself in this investigative and supportive atmosphere. Through its student organizations, Chapman fosters collaboration and self-empowerment. I would love to join clubs like Accent or IATG to help make the campus inclusive and dispel boundaries between students. In high school, I created Kind Campaign, a club that creates awareness about bullying and social anxiety, and I hope to start a similar organization at Chapman to contribute to its unique, all-embracing campus life. Okay, any thoughts on what you liked most that made you feel more like this was specific to Chapman and that she was truly excited? Any little details you guys saw in that? We have a little more here on the biology department, right? She references her visit to the biology department, which shows, she's visited the school. She knows that Dr. Rowland Goldsmith is called Dr. RG by the students, right? And Didi, you said it's much more specific and shows she really did her research. She also ties it to her previous interests. And that's why I always say, it is not just why is the school awesome, but why are we made for each other, right? She did something in high school, which was to create the Kind Campaign, and she hopes that she can go to a university that will allow her the opportunity to do more of those things. And Chapman has these opportunities, and she mentioned 2 specific ways that she would be able to do that. So this way, Chapman also, it's not just that Chapman sees how would they benefit her, but to see how would she benefit their campus as well. So the essay shouldn't be only about the university, and it shouldn't be only about the student. It's really about a balance and about always integrating that idea of fit. And you can see she would be involved. And that's one of the core values of Chapman University, right? So researching that university, she realized, man, I have these opportunities to do that, and they seem to be passionate about it. So I'm going to tell them about this, right? Because it's a core value that Chapman has, and she wants to show them her core values overlap a lot with this university that she's excited to apply to. I thought this essay was so great. The student did a lot of work on this. This is not one draft later, right? This is about 4 or 5 drafts later. And that's why I say this is often an essay where students really miss out on an opportunity when they just kind of fill it into the Common App. They're like, oh, I kind of like it because I've always heard about it growing up. And they just lose out on being able to share so much about themselves. You can see she did her research. So you can see that she took the time to really think about applying, to really think about fit. And those are the students who are more likely to then also enroll. And that's what these universities want in the end, right? They want you to enroll. They want to have a higher yield. Let's go on to the next one. Now, this is a great example of kind of essay do and don'ts for YS. We already talked about a lot of them, but I like this slide just to bring it home. So don't talk about the weather or location. They know where they're located. They know their weather is great. Don't quote other people. This should be about you and the university. Also, please don't quote from their website, paraphrase. Don't name drop. It's not going to work. And don't get the school colors, mascot, or name wrong. You can reuse the skeleton of a YS essay for a different university and switch out all the specific research. But be very careful that you do indeed switch everything out and that you change it so that it really fits the other university, that it doesn't read like a Frankenstein essay. Let's go through some do's. We already said research the university in depth. I usually tell my students to take 45 minutes to 60 minutes to research a university in depth. Mention specific classes, majors, and faculty. Tie the aspects you love about the university to your own values and experience. And treat the essay like, why are we made for each other dating profile. You love walks on the beach? That's amazing. I also love walks on the beach, right? Didi has another question. If a sibling is already at the school, is it important to contrast yourself or mention that in some way? No, not at all. They're not going to be like, oh, we don't want two. They're going to be two alike from the same family. They're not going to think that. They understand that siblings can be extremely different. So you will not be compared at all to your sibling who already attends the university. You could mention, though, that because your sibling attends, you've been able to get a lot more acquainted with the school. And here's some of the things that really stand out to you. That way you show you already have that personal connection and investment. So that can be really great, because if a family is already passionate about the school, again, the student's more likely to actually enroll once admitted. So show that passion, show that you're familiar with the school and that you know a lot about it if you do have a sibling and have visited them several times and heard their stories. Let's talk about the extracurricular essay. So here's an example from Tulane University. Please briefly elaborate on one of your extracurricular activities or work experiences. This one is 250 words or fewer. Oftentimes they're 150 words or fewer. Usually they're not longer than that. Things to keep in mind. They have your activities list. So that's like your resume, right? They've seen which clubs, athletics, what work experience, like all these things that you've done. So they have that. So please don't list your activities in this essay. You're wasting your space. They already know about them. So don't repeat yourself. But of course, pick one of the activities on your activities list that is most meaningful to you. And then I recommend that you go to the values exercise. If you don't know what this is, you can just Google values exercise college essay guy and you'll find it. We love using college essay guy's resources. He creates a lot of great free stuff, but it's also linked on this slide. And take a look at which values connect to your activity. I would pull this up, but we're a little slow on time, a little low on time. So I'm just going to talk through it. So you might say, I love basketball because it taught me collaboration, leadership, and how to work through hard times. Now, a lot of other students are going to write the exact same essay about basketball. So I'm not saying you're not allowed to write about basketball, but find something a little more unexpected about what it means to you. I had a student really dig deep and he was like, well, basketball is really about beauty for me. It's like a choreographed dance. And I was like, wow, beauty and dance, two values that are very unexpected. And I asked him, how so? Like, tell me more about this. I want to learn about this. First of all, I do not play basketball, nor do I watch it. So don't assume I know anything. And second of all, I'm not you. And I want to get to know your experience. So really getting them to think deeper about that. Let's see how we can do that. Let's go through an example essay. So let's go through a sample from Georgetown. Georgetown gives you about half a page, single spaced. And the prompt reads, discuss the significance to you of the school or summer activity in which you have been most involved. So let's read this essay. This was a sample from the students who were seniors last year. In the wake of nationwide Black Lives Matter protests and ahead of the 2020 presidential election, I felt an unfamiliar feeling, a lack of clear direction. What can I do to create an impact? Not a performative gesture or a black square on Instagram, but something that will generate tangible change. Can I do anything with traditional methods of direct actions now made impossible by a pandemic? Luckily, that same summer, I heard about When We All Vote, a nonpartisan organization dedicated to the increase of voter turnout and civic engagement, primarily amongst youth. Within the same day of discovering the campaign's existence, I reached out to any potentially interested friends I could think of in the hopes of assembling a team. Within a week, I had formed the country's very first WWAV chapter. Although we never received the ability to organize in person, we were able to reach hundreds of potential voters and register dozens. Despite a decrease in operations after Election Day, my chapter's ranks have swelled in membership, and we continue to contact unregistered youth on a weekly basis. One thing I've learned from being student captain of my local WWAV chapter, it is hard to get teenagers to register to vote. Who knew, right? For every 10 I would contact, perhaps 1 or 2 would even respond. Even with such a stroke of fortune, convincing them of the importance of voting might as well have been quantum physics. Despite its setbacks, When We All Vote allowed me to funnel my passions into tangible change in my community, all while strengthening existing values and adding new ones. Logistics management, personal drive, and leadership were all instilled within me. From a practical standpoint, my experience granted me understanding of the operation of nonprofit campaigns, as well as community outreach, especially during a pandemic. I am endlessly proud of what I have built, but more importantly, what the club itself has built with the combined input of every individual member. My work only further established to me that I do have a clear direction, a career dedicated to the service of others. There's a lot going on in this essay, right? Again, this is a real essay from one of my students from last year. So it's a good one, right? I enjoyed it. I like the humor. We can see, that's a heavy topic too. It could have turned a little boring, honestly, right? But we have some humor in there. And we learn a lot about the student. It connects to something a goal the student has, which it doesn't always have to, right? But it should connect in some way to reflection or insight about who they are or what they want to do, and who they want to be in the future. The tone is all the student. This was all written by the student. I love that you said he sounds like he's 25 years old. He's not. He's 17, but he is an old soul. I can tell you that. I have known him since he was a freshman, and he already sounded like an old soul then. So yeah, that's an interesting one, right? Okay, let's read another one. I want to contrast this essay. Here's an example essay 2. This is the same prompt, basically, the extracurricular prompt. So let me just make sure I can read. An activity that has become an identity of mine is snowboarding. I've been very blessed to have access to snow, unlike many people in Southern California. My grandparents own a house up in Sundance, Utah. It's a small mountain resort with not much housing. Almost every Christmas, my family and I fly up to Salt Lake City and drive about an hour to the house. My dad is a skier, so naturally I started skiing before snowboarding when I was about 6 years old. I was not the biggest fan of skiing, mostly because I couldn't ski well. Although I did enjoy being on a mountain, I could tell that skiing was not for me. Currently, I'm 17. I first tried snowboarding when I was about 14. Growing up in Southern California, I surf and do a little bit of skating, so I felt like these skills would translate to snowboarding. I still decided to take a lesson so I wouldn't hurt myself. I rented my gear and was ready for my first time snowboarding. The instructor was very nice and relaxed. She helped me learn the basics, such as turning and stopping. I already had the balance from the sports I mentioned earlier, which was a huge advantage. By lunchtime, my instructor told me I'd caught on very quickly and that she didn't know what to teach me. Since we paid for a full day lesson, my instructor and I spent the rest of the day racing down the mountain. I felt like a natural and knew that snowboarding was for me. The rest of the trip, I went with my dad, rediscovering all the trails I had previously explored on skis. By the end of our vacation, I was already thinking about next Christmas. Next year picked up right where I had left off. I went exploring almost the whole mountain with my dad, cousin, and grandma, who impressively still skis. I had to rent gear again, which wasn't ideal, but I was still happy to be snowboarding. Overall, the trip was a blast, especially the last run. My dad, grandma, and I reached the top of the mountain right as a blizzard rolled in. All of us agreed to attempt to race the storm down the mountain. It was great. We flew through the blizzard, barely able to see. By the time we reached the resort, the storm had pulled back. We went back to the house and settled in, preparing for the flight home. On Christmas of 2019, I got my very own snowboard and gear. I was beyond thrilled that I would never have to rent again. Not even a week after, my dad and I took a day trip up to Mountain High, which is about an hour and a half away from where we live. Once we reached the mountain, we geared up and got on the lift. The board rode like a dream. Turns and transitions felt seamless, almost like I was floating. I made sure to give that board a good first day. Since we weren't able to go to Sundance that Christmas, my friends and I took a trip up in February. We spent the whole trip snowboarding on the mountain, only stopping to eat and sleep. On our last day at Sundance, we decided to take a hike to get to some backcountry. It was a grueling hike, but the fresh powder was way worth the effort. Carving a path down the mountain before anyone else had felt surreal, like I was the only person in the world, just me, the board, and the snow. I hope to attend a college close to the mountains where I can feel like this whenever I want. All right, we already have a comment. It feels a little bit flat and boring, not that compelling. I may have lost interest. I would have started with the blizzard story and made it much shorter. I like the end. Yeah, it's a bit rambly, right? We can see the student is passionate, but we get a lot of backstory. I don't know if we really need all that backstory of how great it is not to rent, but to own, things like that, right? So I would have really suggested to the student to go and connect with the values exercise and pick 3 top values and make sure that any of his paragraphs directly connect to one of those values, because this student is a bit repetitive. And I can tell you, I love skiing more than anyone. I mean, I know he loves snowboarding, not skiing, right? Did we need that part? I don't know, but I do love, like, I am intrigued, the grueling hike, but then the fresh powder at the end here, carving that path down the mountain before anyone else and how surreal that felt. That's something I'd love to know more about and why that is so important to this student. So there were a couple missed opportunities and he did lose our interest a little bit along the way. So that brings us to some do's and don'ts. So let's start with the don'ts again. Don't assume the reader knows your activity. Don't talk only about expected values. Don't repeat what you wrote in your personal statement. We did already read that. That's really important for any supplemental essays. They read your personal statement. Don't repeat what you wrote there. Don't talk about an activity that isn't actually meaningful to you, just trying to make it meaningful. And don't try to write what you think, quote unquote, they want to hear. Instead, you should focus on being specific about the activity. And here's important, connecting your involvement to unexpected values. The student with the snowboarding essay did not really connect it to that many values and definitely no unexpected values. So we could have had a lot more intriguing essay here than we actually did. Don't definitely tell the reader why they should care and show insight. Reflect on how you have changed due to your involvement. That was also a little bit lacking in that second example. Also, mention specific numbers that show the effect your involvement had. We had that a little bit in the first example. I reached out to 10 people and I got this many registered to vote, right? Now, Didi's asking, what are unexpected values? So things that you wouldn't think someone got. Earlier, I gave the example of a student writing about his involvement with the basketball team. Expected values from that would be collaboration, teamwork, hard work, pushing through physical pain, those would be expected values. While when he wrote about beauty and about seeing the dance of basketball as an art, those were unexpected values. I hadn't really heard people talk about it like that. So that's something to really look at, that values sheet that I linked in the slide. I just don't have time to bring it up because we are already a couple minutes over, but I do want to finish the rest of this. But take a look at the values exercise. And Didi, I know that your kids have been working with a counselor, so they for sure have done the values exercise and can show you that one as well. But just Google values exercise college essay guy, and you'll find out some stuff about it. Okay, here's a sample community essay prompt. This one is from the University of Washington, Seattle. It's just a sample. The community prompts are very different. They can vary a lot from one to the next. Our families and communities often define us and our individual worlds. Community might refer to your cultural group, extended family, religious group, neighborhood or school, sports team or club, co-workers, etc. Describe the world you come from and how you, as a product of it, might add to the diversity of the University of Washington. So that's an example. I do have some things to keep in mind here. I've already said most of those, but really think about you define community, think outside the box of what community could mean to you, and then really think about what your role is in that community and what is meaningful to you about it. And again, the values exercise can help here, and the essence objects exercise as well. Here's a sample essay. I'm going to skip it, but it's on the slides for you. So we will make sure to get those slides to you. Here are some resources that will also link to some of those exercises I talked about. So the complete guide to the Why Us essay is wonderful, as is the guide to the extracurricular essay, the Why Major essay, and the community essay. And then there is a lot more on all things supplemental. These are wonderful resources. Each one of these is a hyperlink to another website that will help you out. Also, make sure to listen to our podcast. We just put out an episode a couple of, I think only like 2 weeks ago or so, about how to write your personal statement. So feel free to listen to that. Another one that I really recommend listening to is the second episode of the first season. We're already at the end of the second season, which is very exciting, where we discuss why is it important to be mindful in your college application process. And I really, really recommend that. We also have a great one out from a couple of weeks ago about how to support your students as parents. And all of these have guest experts. So it's not just me talking all the time or William talking all the time. Sometimes it's just us, but oftentimes we invite guest experts. So take a look at that. Here's my contact information. And I really hope this is here. It is. One last time, here's the QR code for the feedback survey. Since this is the last session of the day, you guys made it. Thank you for being such troopers. I know it's really late. If you could take a screenshot of the QR code and fill out our survey, that would help us tremendously. We want to make sure we're always creating better and better content for you guys. So please pop any ideas in there, anything you'd like to see in the future. Please let me know if you need anything or if you want to talk one-on-one to any of us for a consultation, or if you just want some resources, happy to give those over to you. So reach out to me anytime. It was wonderful spending this evening with you guys. Bye.